Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for your patience. I know we're about 5 minutes late in getting started. We're actually being joined by folks in all different time zones today, so we wanted to give a couple people a little bit of extra time to join. So no matter what time it is where you are right now, thank you and welcome. We appreciate you coming to today's webinar info session on Point of Pride's Electrolysis Support Fund. And we hope you're having a great day so far, and we thank you in advance for your time and attention by joining us. So my name is Jeff Main. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the executive director and co-founder of Point of Pride. Previously, I was the board of directors secretary. I've been affiliated with the organization for over a decade, leading and growing all of our different programs, cultivating relationships with donors and corporate partners. I joined as ED back in July of this year, so still relatively new to the role. And before that, I worked in marketing and design. I live in Philadelphia with my wife, our toddler, and our cats, one of whom is very likely to make a cameo or be heard in the background at some point during today's presentation.
And Jeff, just as a heads up, you're not presenting.
Oh, oh my goodness.
It's
Ah,
okay.
I need
So
more caffeine.
my name is Tyler, he, him. I am the program manager with Point of Pride. I joined back in January of this year as our first full-time employee, but I've been volunteering with Point of Pride since 2017. Any of you who have interacted with any of our programs in the past will probably know me as the email guy. And everyone inside the organization calls me the spreadsheet guy. Before coming to Point of Pride, I worked in the healthcare sector for 15 more years, primarily in pharmacy. So excited to be putting my skills to use here.
And now that we're presenting and we're officially back on track here, our session today is going to focus entirely on our electrolysis support fund, but our organization also offers financial aid and direct support through other programs that Tyler and I wanted to quickly share with you just in case it's helpful for your unique situation. So we offer an annual trans surgery fund, which provides direct financial assistance to trans folks towards gender affirming surgery. We offer the HRT Access Fund, which provides financial aid towards gender affirming hormone replacement therapy through our telehealth providers. And we also mail free chest binders and femme shapewear to trans folks who need them entirely for free. We've served thousands of people in all 50 states and 115 countries and counting. And each of these programs has its own application process, timeline, and specific details that you can learn more about on our website, www.pointofpride.org. So today's agenda. This deck will be shared with you in an email following the info session, so there's no need to screenshot or worry if you missed anything. We're also recording today's session and are going to post it to our YouTube channel, so you can always go back and reference. As we're presenting, Tyler will be monitoring the Q&A, so please feel free to ask questions at any time, or you can save them till the end, where we're going to have an open Q&A discussion. But today we're going to talk about the program, go over important dates. We'll cover the applicant experience, what our reviews process looks like, what the recipient experience looks like, and then end with that Q&A. About the Electrolysis Support Fund. So this is a scholarship-like program that provides financial assistance towards permanent hair removal services, which includes electrolysis and laser hair removal for trans folks who cannot afford these services. Our program launched in 2018, and since that time, we've awarded $118,000 to our recipients. We're very excited because when our application opens in 2024, we're anticipating awarding between 60 and 80 recipients, which is far higher than any other cohort of recipients we've had previously. So we do want to note before we get much further that access to healthcare is a right that every person, trans or cis, deserves. Unfortunately, with our current financial resources, the Electrolysis Support Fund remains a competitive program. So while we're awarding more recipients than ever before, we also are expecting a very high volume of applications, which means we expect an award rate of about 7 to 12% of everyone who applies. So what are our requirements to apply? We require that you identify as trans, and we have a very broad understanding of what that means. But basically, if you do not identify as cis, you fall under the trans umbrella and are eligible to apply. You have to be able to demonstrate financial need that prevents you from affording hair removal services. And you have to be 18 years old or older, or have consent from a parent or a legal guardian, as well as your hair removal providers. If you are on the trans femme spectrum, we require that you are seeking hair removal on your face, on your neck, or in an area of your body that's in preparation for surgery, specifically bottom surgery. If you identify on the trans masculine spectrum, we require that you seek hair removal on an area of your body in preparation for bottom surgery and that you have a surgery date already scheduled. So for eligibility, you can apply regardless of your hair type, your skin tone, as well as any hair removal products or services you may have used in the past. There'll be opportunities within the application form where you can note whether you've previously had laser or electrolysis or other types of hair removal. You can apply regardless of employment, your housing status, your disability status, or your immigration status. And you can apply regardless of whether or not you have health insurance. And with health insurance specifically, we don't have any requirements like that you need to have attempted coverage in the past or that you must have received a denial letter or anything like that. We recognize that most health insurance plans do consider hair removal to be cosmetic, even in circumstances in which it's a prerequisite for surgery. You can apply regardless of whether or not you are on hormone replacement therapy or taking other steps in your transition. And you can apply if you have already received funding or support through any of Point of Pride's other programs that we had mentioned at the top of this call. Our application period will open on Monday, January 1st, and it will close on the last day of February, which happens to be a leap year this year. So Thursday, February 29th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a final deadline, and unfortunately, absolutely no applications can be accepted after this date. We do want to mention that when you apply, so whether you do it first thing on January 1st or right at the end of February, that has no impact positively or negatively on your likelihood of receiving funding. For international applicants, you are welcome to apply if you live outside of the United States. And I know we have some folks on the call today that are joining us from all over the world. The most common use cases that we've seen historically are people that live in Canada or Mexico close to the United States border. And the reason for that is because due to our specific nonprofit status, we require that all hair removal services be performed in the United States and its territories. So that means in order to apply, you have to be physically and financially able to travel to the United States for your care. And at this time, our grants cannot be applied to travel, lodging, or other logistical expenses. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what you can expect as an applicant. So when you apply, you have an option to list someone as your support person. This can be a liaison, a translator, or a general support person. This person will be CC'd on all email notifications regarding your application status. Access can be revoked at any time by you, the applicant, simply by contacting us. So this could be a friend, a chosen or blood family member, a counselor, a social worker, really anyone in your life who you feel will help you navigate this process and submit a high quality application. Support people are also able to apply during the same application cycle. So for example, you can be both an applicant towards your own hair removal, as well as a support person to another applicant. If you are under the age of 18, the form will tell you this, but you will be required to list your parent or legal guardian as your support person so we can verify consent. On our website, we also have an instruction packet. This A link to this packet will be in that follow-up email that I had mentioned, so you can all bookmark it and check it out at a later time. But this document walks you through every single question on the form and explains in detail what our reviewers are hoping to understand about your unique needs. So we strongly recommend that you take a look at it, consider, or even draft your written responses ahead of time. We've had a lot of applicants and former recipients tell us that getting that sort of head start by thinking about what they wanted to share really helped them with the process overall. So again, all of these questions are going to be with our instruction packet, but our application form will ask you for basic contact information, optional demographic information, information around your hair removal needs, what sort of services are you seeking? Have you had services in the past already? And then short answer responses in which, through writing, you'll demonstrate your financial need and your current financial situation. The form itself is hosted on a platform called JotForm. This is a secure, HIPAA-compliant platform. We also store your data following privacy best practices. More information about all of that can be found in the privacy policy on our website. So some notes. Grants are $1,250 per recipient. They are paid directly to your electrologist or your laser hair removal provider. That said, we recognize that everyone's hair removal goals and needs can look quite different. And for some recipients, that $1,250 might not be sufficient to meeting those goals. So beginning in 2024, we're going to be launching a new process for existing recipients to be able to apply for additional funding to supplement their original grant. So more information on that will be shared publicly in the coming weeks, and certainly privately within recipients upon receiving your grant. You should expect to cover travel fees to and from your sessions, as well as any pre or post-session medications or treatments. So this could look like things that your provider might recommend, like numbing creams or injections. Our grants would not be able to cover that at this time. If you are selected as a finalist, or if our reviewers determine that they need additional information, you'll be contacted via email. You may be invited at that time to submit additional written responses or to participate in a brief phone or online interview. If you are selected as a recipient, we will contact you again via email or phone regarding next steps. The full details of your award will be explained in your recipient agreement. And if you are not selected as a finalist or a recipient, we will notify you via email, and you are welcome to apply again during the next application cycle. This is an annual program, so that next cycle would be in 2025. And we do want to note that our team stores your application materials for 1 full year. And where resources allow, we do continue to pair candidates with financial assistance. So as we receive grants, resources, and new opportunities, you may be contacted later in the year via email if again, you are added as a recipient at a later date. While rare, this has happened, I think, every year that we've been in operation since 2016. So a full list of all of our frequently asked questions are on our website, but we wanted to pause and focus on the ones that we see most commonly here. So what are the age requirements? Again, you must be at least 18 years old. If you're under 18, we require consent from a parent or a legal guardian who will be required listed as your support person on the application form, as well as your hair removal providers. We have no upper limit for age. Are there any skin, hair, or health requirements? So while Point of Pride organizationally, we have no requirements or limitations, we recognize that some providers may. So it would be your responsibility to meet any requirements that are set forth by your preferred provider. Can the fund reimburse past hair removal expenses? So we do understand the challenges of debt and medical loans that so many of us in the community deal with just so that we can afford the care that we need. But unfortunately, no, our grants must go towards future services. So our grants are paid directly to your electrologist or your provider before your hair removal sessions take place. Can I apply if I'm not sure if I want laser or electrolysis? So the answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, many of our applicants are not sure which type is right for them and are waiting until they can speak to a provider to determine that. So grants are applicable if your provider recommends that you do both types of services, or if you start off doing one type of service and wish to switch to another. Can you help me find a provider? Unfortunately, no. Our team does not have the expertise or the ability to provide referrals or recommendations for trans affirming providers. However, we are more than happy to point you in the direction of local LGBTQ organizations, if they're available in your area or region, or online websites where you might be able to find more information as you research. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the reviews process. So after you submit your application and we hit that February 29th application deadline, the first thing that happens is our staff, Tyler, hides identifying personal information such as your name, your email address, your phone number. And your application then gets shuffled with 49 others into randomized packets that go to our reviews committee. And so our reviewers are our board of directors and our community grant-making fellows. These are specially trained grant-making volunteers. All of these volunteers identify as trans. And to minimize the impacts of unconscious bias, our reviewers all follow the same scoring rubric and receive continuing education throughout the year. In addition, every application is reviewed by at least 2 different reviewers. Oftentimes, it's 3 reviewers per application. We anticipate, given the high volume of applications we expect to receive, that it should take 4 to 12 weeks from the end of our application window, February 29th, to review and select recipients. And again, we expect that 7 to 12% of applicants will be selected as recipients. Unfortunately, this is still a highly competitive process. You will hear from Point of Pride via email regarding your application status, and we recommend that you check your spam filter, or something you can do right after today's info session is add pointofpride.org to your safe senders list, and that ensures that you don't miss any future emails from us. So let's chat about the recipient experience. If you are awarded as a recipient, you will get that email from us that contains your recipient agreement. And this document explains the full details of your award. In the agreement, it will list that grant award amount, which is $1,250 per recipient. It will also explain the grant timeline. You'll be given a window of 18 months to fully exhaust these funds, to spend these funds with your chosen service provider. So some recipients, depending on their needs, their goals, where they're at in their hair removal journey, expend this grant very quickly. Other folks might take longer. It's really flexible and up to you and what works best for your situation. In that email, there'll also be some ancillary forms we'll ask you to complete, including a HIPAA disclosure. So this names Tyler and myself as points of contact that can speak to your provider's office on your behalf. We use this strictly for payment fulfillment so that you don't have to be involved in the payment process and go back and forth between us. We don't ask for or wish to know any other like personal information or information about your medical history or things like that. We'll ask you to complete a support person disclosure. This confirms that you're comfortable with your originally named support person being included in future correspondence around your grant award and payments and things like that. So at this time, you have the option to keep your support person, change them if you wish, or remove them entirely. You'll also complete a partner authorization form. So Point of Pride builds partnerships with other values-aligned nonprofits that serve the trans community in accessing healthcare. And these other organizations offer services that we don't. So things like post-operative nursing or flights within the United States to be able to access different types of healthcare. So again, we don't directly provide these services, but we can refer you to our trusted partner organizations to see about such services if you thought that might be helpful for your healthcare needs. So only in that event would we share your personal contact information with a third-party organization. And then we'll ask you to complete a media disclosure agreement. So a screenshot of what that looks like is on the right-hand side of this slide. In this form, you'll have the opportunity to tell us exactly how you want your name, your photos, or other information shared publicly. And for your privacy and security, you can be as anonymous as you like to be. And we're going to talk more about that right now. So if you've been on our website or if you follow us on social, you might have seen some recipient announcements for our financial aid programs. And so these are public-facing announcements in which our recipients have complete control over their narrative, including whether or not they wish to use their name, photo, or identifying or personal details in their recipient bios. And so if you are selected as a recipient, again, nothing ever gets published without your permission. And to give a little bit more context, we encourage our recipients to write their stories in a way that feels affirming and safe for them. So this often means that many recipients choose not to publicly display personal or even traumatic details that were shared privately in their original applications, such as disability status, health or mental health status, immigration status, or experiences of violence and discrimination. With so many mainstream stories that focus on trans hardship, we believe allowing our recipients to have complete control over their story and what they want to share helps to foster trans joy. So you'll see in the image on the right of this slide that some recipients have chosen to use their photo, some have chosen to have it blurred. In some instances, we select stock photos that represent the recipient's ethnicity origin. So if you like, I invite you to visit our website and read through some of their stories for examples of what we're chatting about now. And so that's the end of the information segment of today's info session. I want to say thank you again to everyone who's joined us. When you leave today's info session, you're going to see a link to a quick feedback form. It takes about a minute, so please fill that out. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if this was helpful so that we can improve for the future. And thank you in advance. We're going to go into our Q&A, but you can always connect with us by emailing electrolysis@pointofpride.org. That goes straight to Tyler, who will get back to you promptly. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter for now, but not really. Or you can visit www.pointofpride.org. So I know Tyler has been keeping an eye on the Q&A as we've been going through the deck. I'll give everyone a couple minutes to drop some questions in. So an attendee asked, does it matter how much savings I have? Can I apply even if I don't have any savings? So yes, you can apply regardless of how much savings you have, including if you have none, currently earmarked towards hair removal. And again, in that written response, you'll have the opportunity to share a little bit more information and give us a better sense of your financial situation. So another attendee asked, if I've had hair removal services in the past, does that help or hurt my chances of funding? Neither. We asked that question really for context, but it does not weigh into our scoring rubric positively or negatively. It just helps, again, us understand your unique situation, the barriers that you might have come across, if you were previously receiving sessions and had to discontinue due to finances or lack of access or other things. So we, again, really just ask that to get a better sense of your overall situation. So I see Tyler answered this, but I'm going to read it out loud in case it's helpful for other attendees. So what if the $1,250 grant is more than enough for laser and the remaining hair would need to be removed by electrolysis with a different provider? There are no places who do both where I live. And so the answer is you can use your grant award for any combination of services. We have had recipients in the past in this exact situation in which they used part of an award for laser with one provider and then changed providers to begin electrolysis with someone new just because of that access issue. Not a problem for us at all. We can and often do split up grants. Another attendee asked, will I need to have selected a provider before applying? No, we'll ask you if you have received a quote or if you have already reached out to providers, but this does not help or hurt chances of funding. It's just, again, something that we try to capture for context. Another attendee asked if there are ways for insurance providers like Blue Cross Blue Shield to cover hair removal services. So it's tough. As we said, like briefly earlier in the call, there are some insurers that may cover hair removal services, especially if it's a prerequisite for a surgery. So if you can get your surgeon or your healthcare provider to really advocate for the necessity. But oftentimes insurance companies still view hair removal as cosmetic, no matter the situation. So your insurance provider as well as your electrologist may be able to provide you some specific guidance, again, depending on where you live and what insurance provide plan you have. We here at Point of Pride hope to put together like a pretty robust resource guide. We're hoping early next year that would sort of walk you through how you can navigate that conversation with your insurance and understand what sort of options you might have. So someone asked, are there any geographic restrictions or requirements? We require that services be performed within the United States. So for many folks, that means that you are a US resident. However, we have had folks that live very close to the Canadian or the Mexican border that can easily cross to be able to obtain, sessions on a fairly regular basis. We've also had folks that maybe are residents of other countries but are in United States for extended periods of time due to work or education or other things. So those would be situations in which you're certainly eligible. So I see a question about skincare, both during and after the process, and whether we have any guidance there, or information rather. So we do have a couple of blog articles on our website, but we are not medical experts. And so what we would certainly recommend is that you talk with your service provider directly for recommendations, aftercare instructions, anything that they might recommend leading up to your sessions. They're going to be that best source of information and advice. So yeah, we always recommend that you speak with your medical team and your providers directly. All right, cool. I see the questions are starting to slow down a little bit. I think we'll give 2 more minutes for folks that might still have questions, and then we'll say goodbye. So I'm seeing a question about age limit and age range. So I know some folks might have joined in late. So if you're under 18, we do require that you have the consent of your legal guardian or parent, as well as your care providers. And if you're selected as a recipient, we are gonna, verify consent. We might require some documentation before we formally issue your award. But there's no upper limit for age, which I think might be the spirit of this question. We've had applicants that are in their 70s and older. This particular program really runs a very wide age range, so no upper limit for care. All right. So again, thank you all so much for joining us today. Please take a moment and fill out feedback. Let us know how we did. If any questions or feedback come up, beyond that, you're always invited to reach out to us via email or our website or social. Appreciate it and hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Have a good one.